Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Cyber Insurance Panel, the expert panel. It's going to be the first expert panel, and it deals with insurance, which is not the most sexiest topic, but I promise it's going to be interesting. My name is Omer Slaw. I'm managing partner at Orad Schlimoff Co. law firm. We are acting in the past years on behalf of insurers and reinsurers in handling hundreds of cyber incidents in Israel. So we have a lot of experience with what is required for cyber incident and how insurance involves with this insurance. We all know, and we heard and we'll hear today about the cybersecurity, which is very important for our company. But we all know that this is not enough. And as a supplemental tool, and not instead of cybersecurity, the insurance will come into effect. Today, we will speak about this added layer of protection, which is insurance, and what are the most important and interesting topics for companies purchasing such insurance in Israel. With that, I want to introduce our distinguished panel. First, Ken Riegler, president at Bay Insurance Company.
Thank you.
Eugenie de Logivere, financial lines underwriter from Applied Insurance from Paris. Michal Shlomo, head of cyber insurance from Howden Insurance Brokers. And Michal Bartov, the chief legal officer of Codeblue. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll try to make it very interesting for our guests. Ken, I'm going to start with you. First question. We've seen in the past year a shift in types of cyber incidents from what we have seen in the past, more encryption, double extortion cases, towards more likely data exfiltration cases. What types of coverage do you see from Israeli companies purchasing for this, because of this trend and for the next future?
Great. Well, first of all, I'm privileged to be here. Thank you very much. I have to say we are new to Israeli business. We are actually going to be launching in second quarter of 2026, so you'll be able to hear a lot about at Bay. Our founders are Israeli. We have a big organization here where we do a lot of the cyber research. So I come from a perspective of what we're seeing in the US and what we've heard as we establish ourselves and begin to underwrite here in Israeli business. So for the most part, just to give you a sense of what we're coming from a background, we are the 5th largest cyber writer in the US. We formed about 8 years ago. And from there, if you exclude enterprise, because we focus on SMB and micro business, we are the 2nd largest cyber writer in the US, over 40,000 customers, $800 billion worth of revenue under management. So we're seeing a lot of activity in the US. But you're absolutely right. The activity that we're seeing and hearing about here in Israel is quite different than some of the stuff we're seeing in the US from a loss perspective. And it really has to do with the political climate that you're seeing here. And that's why you're not seeing the types of losses, every day that we're seeing in the US. But what's interesting is the coverage demands are very similar. And you're really looking for an alignment of having breach coaches and a full array of concierge services in the event of a loss. So that's a must-have when you're looking for coverage. Another thing is business interruption. But what we're seeing most often, particularly over the last 10 months, with the rise of AI, is social engineering is on a rise. It's 5 times higher than it was just in the last 10 months. And so you're seeing huge amounts of financial fraud, events happening, more so than ever before. And that type of coverage and how the policy responds is probably the most critical right now, what you're seeing.
Thank you very much. And we didn't speak about AI and AI fraud,
That's
but
right.
it's going to be our next years to deal with. Eugenie, bonjour. I wanted to ask you about the standards, the minimum standards that insurance company ask from the insureds, from the companies, either technical or other minimum standards in order to purchase such a cyber insurance.
So, well, cyber insurance has existed for more. Sorry. Is it better now? So cyber insurance has existed for more than 20 years now, and it has strongly increased over the past 4 to 5 years, following the lockdown period when we saw an increase in both the frequency and the severity of claims. So in leading obviously to a rise in claims in cyber insurance policies. So in response of that, insurers tighten their underwriting requirements in order to limit the risk. This tightening is accompanied with a shift where cyber insurance is no longer seen solely as a transfer of the risk to the insurer, but also as an incentive for companies to increase the level of their cybersecurity controls. So nowadays, according to prevailing underwriting standards, insurers will check if there are some specific controls, a minimum in place in the IT environment of the insured. The main one will be if the remote access is secured, either VPN, MFA. If there is a employee cybersecurity awareness training, including phishing training simulation, if they have an incident response plan in place, business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan. Also, if they have up-to-date antivirus software, an EDR tool being used and deployed on all workstations and servers. And the last but not the least, if they are encrypted offline backups, ideally either isolated or immutable with a regular restoration test. We can also have time-dependent requirements. For example, if a company acquires a subsidiary, we will expect to have this newly acquired entity to have the same level of control. I would say that all these minimum requirements from the insurers are actually in line with the threat. Without such baseline controls in place, we can reasonably consider that there is no uncertainty, and it won't be a matter of if, but a matter of when. So yeah, a matter of time.
Yeah, we always say that when we facing new companies trying to buy insurance, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Michal Shlomo, now from the broker side of you, where do you see the gaps between the requirements from insurers that we've just heard and what the companies have at hand?
Thank you, Omer. When I look at the gap, we have to remember the insurance market we saw in the past years. In the last few years, we've managed to go with our clients to a very tough and hard market. Companies who were seeking to buy cyber insurance were forced to fulfill very long questionnaires, sometimes dozens of papers, with so many questions about their controls. Some of the companies abandoned the process through the way without even getting a quote. Nowadays, at Howden, we think that every company should be able to purchase cyber insurance with a short questionnaire, with a short process, and we call it Cyber Plus. We have launched a Cyber Plus product a year and a half ago, allowing companies up to $5 million revenue to buy cyber insurance with only 3 controls at all. Nowadays, we are duplicating this type of process to a higher revenue companies. But in my view, the main challenge today is not just about the procedure, but about perception and trust. I am honestly shocked every day when I'm meeting clients that said, I don't need cyber insurance. It won't happen to me. I'm not interested to threat actors. I have controls. No one can penetrate my systems, or even if we will get a cyber event, the insurance company will not pay. In my view, according to our past experience, the reality is completely the opposite. In the last few years, we have accompanied many companies throughout a wide range of cyber events, and the cyber insurance was a true lifeline for those companies, both in the way of the immediate response that they got and in the financial compensation they got for the costs and losses. So to summarize this, we have two biggest challenges. The one is the process itself, and our job there is to make the process very easy for company to allow them to buy cyber insurance. And the other side is about perception, about trust, to share real example with our clients and to make them believe that cyber insurance is a real and valuable component in their cyber security at all.
They have to face an incident to understand it.
Yeah, I faced one this morning. Before coming here, I stayed in my car having a conversation with the client, having a cyber event, and they were horrified. They didn't know what to do, and we are there with them, hand in hand, all through the process.
Let's speak about a new, it's not new, but it's a quite dominant player in cyber incident, and this is the regulator. In the past, we have seen the regulator, but it was merely a passive recipient for notification, if any. But what we've seen in the last years here in Israel and abroad, but here in Israel as well, that the regulator became more dominant, ask more questions, take an active position in handling the cyber incidents, specifically in respect if it involves infrastructures or high-profile sectors, and specifically after the changes in regulation, providing our INCD some powers that were never existed before. Michal Bartov. We have two Michals. From your experience as the CLO of Codeblue, can you share some examples of the regulator's involvement and change?
Yes, we are definitely seeing a trend of much more involvement by the regulators. First of all, in the number of incidents that want to be involved, and secondly, how quickly and how early they come into play and ask all sorts of questions. First of all, it's mandated by law, whether it's the GDPR, it's the NIS2, and in Israel, the privacy protection law was amended last August. So we are seeing an increase in the number of incidents where the regulator is involved. Also, from the side of the sectors, of course, they realize that whether it's the healthcare sector, or the energy, the telecom, where much more sensitive information is involved in large scales, they come early and ask a lot of questions. In fact, last week we had a client from the healthcare sector.
And we had it together. And
exactly. Yes. That's true. A healthcare sector client had a data leak, and the regulator didn't even wait 24 hours and came in and asked a lot of questions. And, we just talked, Itai was mentioning how at an early stage of the incident, there's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of overwhelmed. And, you want the regulator, yes, I will report and I'll definitely give you all the information that you require, but let me first contain the incident itself. Let's deal with the IR issues, the technical issues, and later on we will notify you and notify the data subjects if needed. But they are coming in quite at an early stage, which makes it all the more relevant, the importance of how we need to prepare in advance for this type of cases.
Thank you. Moving back to the insurance and the insurer representative, Ken, we see a lot of questions about if a company buys cyber insurance. Do you think in the past it's going to be a mandatory, such as like a professional indemnity policy or automobile policy? Do you see these as an option?
I think, as you heard, cyber insurance is maturing constantly, and it's rapidly evolving, and more companies are looking to purchase it for the requirements you heard earlier. But I do believe over time it's going to become mandatory, but I don't believe it's going to be led by the governments driving mandatory. It's going to be business community. It's going to be the interactions. You know, you look at your B2B transactions, most often the cyber requirement is a contractual obligation. So the contractual obligation is going to be pushing it. The other means that it'll be pushing it is, you know, certain minor regulatory things. You're looking at GDPR, you know, and the things about how you're protecting people's data. And if you don't do it properly, what, you know, how are you going to, you know, recover from those, you know, events, and what are you going to do from a notification perspective? Those are the things that, you know, insurance helps you navigate along with the ecosystem that comes with insurance. And then obviously, I think that the third thing that'll drive, you know, a push for more mandatory insurance, I think it's financially feasible. You think of the main companies that are purchasing insurance, but you look at the vastness of who's most vulnerable. It's every company, the micro company all the way up to the global company. And how feasible is it for these, you know, potential companies to financially recoup what may be missing when they don't have insurance, or find the tools and, you know, and the safety around the environment to help them get back up and running. You know, it's hard to get that in the crisis time. It's better to have it, you know, and prepare it.
Yeah, and another thing I think we also see in Israel bids, specifically from the government now, demanding cyber insurance as part of the insurance package of a company. So I guess we're going to see that also in the future. Eugenie, let's talk about ransomware for a minute. We've seen the worldwide publishment in respect of decrease in ransomware payment, with the peak of 2023 of $1.25 billion, and then 2024 with $850 or so million, and the decrease continues in 2025. How do you price as an underwriter? How do you price such risk, and specifically for Israel in this kind of time?
Thank you. So it's important to highlight that ransomware remains the leading cause of cyber insurance claims, despite the fact that we see maybe a decrease in reported cyber attacks. Actually, the average cost per incident is increasing. So yes, ransomware risk might be less frequent, but more severe. In a specific region like Israel, it's an even more complex landscape, because despite this very high mature technological ecosystem, this very strong national cybersecurity posture, and numerous of specialized companies, insurers cannot ignore both this technological prominence, which actually attracts the hackers, and also this geopolitical context because of all the ongoing conflicts, the regional tensions, and also the central role of Israel in the Middle East. All of these factors make actually Israel a very high value victim, not only for financial motives, but also for ideological ones. So in 2024, over 300 documented ransomware attacks were reported. Actually, in reality, we believe that it's higher because of unreported incidents. We can also see an evolution in the criminals' tactics, which are becoming even more and more sophisticated, often combining both encryption, data exfiltration, and double extortion, ransom, and threat of public disclosure. It is also it is also enhanced by the use of AI, and also we have systemic threats until the third-party vendors or external services providers. So yes, all of this make Israel and the ransomware a sensitive matter, but still it is insurable, provided that we will have rigorous mitigation processes in place. So it will be a high standard level of security at the insured. So it will be the previously mentioned controls, such as a robust backup, network segmentation, incident response, MFA, etc. With this risk, insurer will adopt a very cautious and conservative approach, and I would end with also the fact that we will have a specific policy calibration in terms of sublimits, limits, and also in terms of retention and premium.
Thank you. Let's move now to the heart of the cyber insurance, and this is, of course, the claims, the incidents. Michal, you are the one in charge for a company to purchase the cyber insurance. What is your role as a broker when an incident occurs? And what is the added value that a broker may bring to the table in such an incident?
I really like this question because for me, the real test of a cyber policy is not on the way it is bound, but on the day of a cyber incident. Until then, we sold a paper and a promise. And this is where you see the real difference between insurance broker. At Howden, we have a 24/7 dedicated cyber claims team available to our clients. They call us in the middle of the night or over the weekend saying we have been hacked. Throughout the entire event, we serve with one eye open on the incident's response and the other eye open on the claims and the coverage in the policy. The broker role has few different layers. The first one, as I told, is the first response. The other one is being an interpreter between the clients and the insurance company. We speak both language. We help translate the insurance demand and question to the client, and we help explain the insurance company what are the things that are needed throughout the event.
Even if the insurance company doesn't really agree with what you think.
Yeah, of course, but it's our role. That brings me to the third part, being an advocate for the client. We always push for the broadest and widest interpretation of the policy. We weren't there when it was bound. We know, or we think we know, what the insurance company meant. The fourth role is being a strategic partner to the client after the incident. We sit with the clients. We review what worked and what didn't work, and we prepare for the next renewal, adjusting coverage, structures, and terms. In many cases, I was a former underwriter, so in many cases, a cyber event is a turning point in the cyber maturity of a company, and we try to use this momentum to help them improve their cyber posture. So to put this in one hand, we are a trusted advisor at a time of a need.
And you didn't mention that the time of need is usually either Thursday late night or Friday or Saturday. Weekend is very, very popular. I think we have between ourselves a lot of discussion during the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. And today is Wednesday, so we are fine.
We were together already last weekend. Give us a weekend off.
Okay, we spoke about notification to regulators. Let's speak about notification to the data subjects or to the clients of the insured in case of leakage. We know that companies are struggling with this. And Michal, can you share some of your insight of the most common mistakes that companies make when deciding if, where, and how to notify their data subjects?
Yes, and interestingly that you chose the issue of data leak because recent reports show that there's more exfiltration cases than ransomware, especially at 2025, and we will probably see an increase in that during 2026. And so, first of all, it's mandated by law. So, especially we see it in Israel since last August and the Amendment 13 of the Privacy Protection Law, that the law itself, you really need to just open the book and check what the law says and when do you need to notify. So it's a bit more clearer now, even though the protection authority wants you to notify within 24 hours, which is sometimes really, really difficult. But once you've checked that box, you go and have a look at it, and I see it as a risk management, really. It depends on what is the scope of the leakage. It depends on the severity, whether it's just personal information or whether it's much more sensitive information, biometric data, etc. And of course, whether there is a risk to the data subject themselves. Now, of course, the requirement is to notify them as soon as possible, to have them do whatever they can to prevent any harm or further damage. But since the organization is at the moment rather in a paralysis mode and overwhelmed, we really try to help them and prepare for that in advance. That's why we also have teams of communication and PR specialists that help them to draft these communications. I can say that the worst thing is not to notify at all, not to communicate anything. But second to that is a bad communication. So I would say I've seen some bad communications where it's too technical. Jargon or too legal. Of course, the legal person says, no, don't say anything because we don't want to admit any guilt. But then the communication said, no, we need to keep transparency and trust with our clients, which is also true. But you need to find the common ground between all of them. There's also a mistake of delaying the assessment of whether we need to notify the data subjects or not. And lastly, I would say, involve the legal teams as early as possible. The legal and the communication teams are there to help you. They have much more experience, especially with talking to the regulators and to public, such as the data subject themselves. So have them being involved at a much earlier stage, and the best practice, have a statement ready that you can adapt to the specific situation, because as we mentioned, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Thank you. I think another thing is the fact that a company should have one voice, one message in case of an incident. We have seen in one of our incidents, acting on behalf of insurance, a company preparing two PR messages, one for their employees and one for their clients, and they were totally different. And of course, it cannot work. It has to be the same, even if the wording is a bit different, but the message should be the same. We understand that the cyber insurance market is shifting and changing and developing. I want to know your thoughts, all of the insurance experts. What will cyber insurance look like in 5 years in respect of coverage, more exclusion, less exclusions, more premium, standard market, or maybe a new market?
As I said before, the market is continuously evolving, and I wouldn't say I would say a maturing product in 5 years versus a standardized product offering. Because when I think standardization, I think a commodity. And I don't believe cyber insurance is going to evolve into a commodity offering. If it does, it's going to continuously lose money. The losses, the threat actors, it's a line of business that's probably the most challenging to underwrite because it's always changing. The landscape is changing, the technology changes, and it takes underwriters a whole litany of folks behind them to continually educate them of what's happening in the market. I believe it's going to be hyper, specialized. I think it's going to be much more, specialized in terms of how we assess risks. And when we look at it at Bay, and other companies are moving towards this direction, is a true assessment of both security and insurance coming together. Because let's take the enterprise space away, where you have professional CISOs. The vast majority of companies out there do not have CISOs. They don't have the bandwidth, the balance sheet to have an entire CISO group, protecting their assets. So when you align yourselves with a security offering, and what we have a blended security and insurance offering, you're continually assessing that risk. And when you continually assess the risk on an ongoing basis, you're enabling higher, more encompassing coverage grants, better limits, you're able to be more proactive. Right now, when you look at the increase in financial fraud, we knew financial fraud right now as an insurance companies, you tend to do a sublimit because there is just no understanding of how these things are happening. Most often, they're happening because, an email penetration and a human error, right? Sending money off when they shouldn't be sending off. But if you put an AI agent, with looking at some of the emails, you're able to highlight what's going on and afford, instead of a $250,000 sublimit, you can give $1 million coverage. So it's partnering with the insured, allowing us to work together to enhance coverage grants. Another example is being more of a proactive steward, a partner, if you will, with the customers. How many customers are looking at their continuous vulnerability? Because day one, when you're writing an account, you think they're the most sound organization. A week later, we see a risk in a Cisco VPN or another VPN that's made them vulnerable. It takes, an average company, particularly a size of, $100 million revenue company or below, 9-10 months to fix that open port. Whereas if you're looking at that and highlighting what's wrong, the following day, you're telling that client there's a vulnerability, they're patching it. And if they're not, they can rely on their security company or their insurance company, in our case, to fix that vulnerability. So you're enabling us to be a lot more proactive. And when things arise, you're telling the broker and customers in advance, hey, there's a major vulnerability we're seeing, in a particular hardware device that needs to be, taken care of because there is no fix. The hardware company is not going to do a product recall like an automobile. You buy a system from, a company and there's a vulnerability. All they're going to do is notify you. They're not fixing it. You need to have the tools in place, the partnerships in place to fix it along the way, not wait until a loss happens.
So for me, as we said a bit earlier, in 2022-2023, insurers tightened their underwriting requirements, but since then, organizations have made a huge effort in order to improve their IT security environment. Nowadays, we can see that companies which are seeking for cyber insurance are often the ones who have very good controls in place. So in 2024, we see a decrease in both premiums and retentions. Despite this positive shift, in cyber insurance, we cannot ignore that the cyber market is constantly and rapidly evolving. This evolution being driven by several factors, such as the consistent frequency of attacks, rising loss severity, also a very heavy regulatory environment, which is putting a lot of pressure on organizations in order to improve their cybersecurity posture. And in addition to that, the geopolitical context whereby attacks are used as tool of destabilization. So in light of all the above, I think that we can anticipate reasonably some developments in the near future. I would start with the first one, which to me would be a stricter underwriting criteria, meaning with more technical assessments, with dynamic conditions, driven by real-time by risk metrics. So we will move beyond this traditional one-time controls checklist. We can also expect a more precisely defined and precise coverage with maybe also new extension, specific exclusion in the absence of this or that control. I think we will have also an even more segmented premium market, with on one hand companies with a poor or fragile cybersecurity health who will have to pay a very high premium to support very high retentions, whereas on the other hand we will have organizations with a very strong cybersecurity politic who will see both their premiums and their retentions stabilized. And I will end with also a more mature and standardized market with a common minimum standards shared by all the insurers with harmonized questionnaires at time of the underwriting submissions, and also, yes, a codified cyber insurance product offering.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you all panelists for your insights today. I think we tried and hopefully succeeded to demonstrate why cyber insurance is important. I guess you will meet these guys if you purchase insurance coverage, either as a broker or as insurance, and of course in readiness by Codeblue. But I hope that we, as in incidents, will meet only in the panel next year and not in an incident. Thank you very much.